Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. For today's video, I want to cover BYD's first quarter 2023 earnings report. It's in Chinese and I had to have some help, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. In case you're not familiar with BYD, BYD is a company out of China that makes passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles, rail transit, batteries, and electronics. Now, the reason why I'm covering this company is that it's well known as one of Tesla's biggest competitors globally. They ship about 500,000 cars per quarter as of their latest earnings report. And so it's a company that I very closely follow in the automotive market, to really get a good understanding of what's going on. Now, this is what the report usually looks like. I can't speak Chinese. Thankfully, we have some help, and I'm definitely going to give a shout out to the resource that I use to try and really figure out what's going on with Q1 BYD earnings. And it's also very important to keep in mind that in the first quarter of every year, there's the Chinese New Year, which typically means that you're going to have less sales in that quarter versus the rest of the quarters potentially. So I just want to make sure I highlight that. Huge thanks to CNEV Post, which is a website out there that takes basically the Chinese EV market and it reports on their earnings. And so I used a lot of their information from that website to really get an understanding of what BYD's earnings look like. So huge shout out to CNEV Post. I'll make sure to put a link for their website in the description below. BYD posts over 400% year-on-year Q1 profit growth. BYD reported revenue of RMB, which is their currency. It's also known as the yuan, of 120 billion yuan in the first quarter, up 79% year-on-year, although it was 23% lower than in the fourth quarter of last year. So real quick, I want to go through some charts that was on that website so you can see graphically what it looks like. So this is the first quarter of 2022, 2021, 2022, and 2023. This is 2020. As you can see each quarter how much the revenue has grown for the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. You can see that Q1 versus Q1, a lot more sales, although it's lower from Q4 of last year versus the Q1 of this year. It is up 85% year over year on Q1, as it was stated earlier. Then you can also look at the BYD quarterly net profit, which is how much money the company has made net that goes to their bottom line. A huge increase from 2022 to 2023 in the first quarter, about 4 billion RMB, but significantly lower from the previous quarter last year. And so year over year for the first quarter, it's up about 400%, which is obviously great for the company. And then this is the gross margins, which is basically how much money they make before they have to account for the costs that are related to the business that are not related to actually making the products, like back office and R&D and stuff like that, research and development. You can see that in the first quarter of 2023, it's down slightly versus Q4, but it's up significantly versus the first quarter of 2022. Now let's go ahead and dig a little bit deeper. There's actually some interesting trends in here. I'm also going to do a comparison to a company that I know really well, which is Tesla, to really understand how their earnings sort of stack up to Tesla's, and we can get a good understanding of how the company's performing dollar to dollar, which I think will be a pretty fun exercise. Before we go on, I would love it if you throw me a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show this video to more people. Thank you so much. That wasn't very smooth. I'm going to try that again. If you're enjoying this content so far, I would love it if you throw me a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show this to more people. Thank you so much. Okay, now that we got that right. Let's put this side by side with Tesla's earnings and see how the numbers shake out. I use the conversion here of 14 cents to 1 Chinese yuan, so we can have a apples to apples comparison from their earnings, revenue, so on and so forth, and we'll see what happens. I took Tesla's numbers from Tesla's latest quarterly report, Q1 earnings report, and so we have the latest information from Tesla, and we'll put that against BYD's latest information as well. And so some of the snippets from BYD's earnings is that in Q1, they sold about 522,000 cars in the entire quarter. It's important to note, though, that it includes hybrid vehicles and commercial vehicles. This is a very small percentage of the pie, the commercial vehicles, but it includes a lot of hybrid business, basically gas engines with an electric motor and a small battery that drives the powertrain. So very important to highlight that. About 50% of BYD cars are not pure electric vehicles, or about 50% of them are pure electric, right? Half of them are and half of them aren't. And the reason why that's important to call out is that Tesla is a pure electric vehicle maker, just so you can get a good understanding of what BYD's performance looks in reference to somebody like a Tesla. In the first quarter of 2023, Tesla sold about 423,000 pure electric vehicles. And so if you put this within context of Tesla and BYD, Tesla sold about 60% more EVs globally in Q1 than BYD, but BYD sold more cars net, including the hybrid cars, in the quarter if we want to look at the entire business. So let's make sure we also mention that. And then if we look at the previous quarter in Q4, BYD sold 693,000 cars in the fourth quarter of 2022, and Tesla sold 405,000 cars total in the fourth quarter of 2022. And so if we look at it from a quarter to over quarter perspective, BYD is down about 20% Q4 versus Q1, where Tesla is up about 4% Q4 versus Q1 for the entire business, not just pure electric for BYD, but for the entire business. If we look at it graphically, this is what the revenue looks like. The blue line is BYD revenue from Q1 2022 all the way to Q1 2023. You can see basically a doubling in revenue from Q1 to Q4, and then that 20 some odd percent drop in Q1 versus the previous quarter, whereas Tesla, it's a little bit more, not as big growth from the first quarter of 2022 to the first quarter of 2023. It hasn't really grown nearly as much as BYD, but you can see that the drop from Q4 to Q1 is a little bit more severe for BYD than for Tesla. So if we put this in percentages, Q1 2023, the current quarter versus Q4 2022, typo, BYD is down about 23%, whereas Tesla is down about 4% on revenue. If we look at the net profit, which is how much money the companies have made net after you take account all their expenses and taxes and so on and so forth, you can see that BYD doesn't make nearly as much net profit, basically take it to the bank, as Tesla. In 2022, they made about $100 million. And then in the first quarter, they made about $600 million, peaking at about $1 billion in Q4, whereas Tesla has sort of gone up and down from about $3.2 billion in net profit down to about 2.5 in the latest quarter. If you follow Tesla, you know this is because of their price decreases, although BYD has done the same in the quarter, and basically every other electric vehicle automaker by and large. And so you can kind of see this here. If we look at it from a quarterly perspective, again, Q4 of 2022, freaking typos, and Q1 2023, BYD is down about 43% quarter over quarter, whereas Tesla is down about 32%. And then if we look at the net profit percentage, so what percent, how much of the revenue, how much of what they sell, they get to take home to the bank, you can kind of see quarter over quarter, Tesla has been on a steady decline from Q1 of 2022 all the way down to Q1 of 2023. So from about 17%-ish net profit percentage down to about 11% net profit, whereas BYD went from about 1% all the way up to 3%, but it is down from Q4's, just like Tesla's is. From a percentage perspective, BYD is down about 26% on the net profit percentage, whereas Tesla is down about 29% on the net profit percentage. And so let's go ahead and kind of summarize this by, reviewing some of my takeaways, and then I would love to hear what you think about sort of these apple-to-apple comparisons and what other information you have about BYD or Tesla in the comment section below. So BYD is growing fast, man. They're friggin' pew! It's like a rocket. So props to them. Really great performance from a sales perspective, even though they had quite a severe, not severe, but quite a big drop in Q4 versus Q1. They're still growing quite a bit, faster than Tesla is if you look at it from Q1 of 2022 from a whole company perspective. There's also that large sales drop in Q1 versus Q4 of 2022. BYD saw it, and again, it's important to note that BYD is strictly selling in China, whereas Tesla is selling globally. But China saw quite a severe price drop in Q1, a sales drop in Q1, whereas BYD saw a drop, but Tesla saw growth from Q4 to Q1, about 4%. So it's important to highlight that. It might be just regional. Maybe China's having some difficulties with their economy, or maybe price cuts from Tesla might be working. Who knows? I would love to hear what you think, though. The business runs, BYD in this case, in quite thin margins, about 3% in Q1 of 2023, whereas Tesla runs on about 11%. And so the thought process here is, if you have to go down lower in price, right, in case of a price war in China with EVs or whatever other vehicles, does BYD have enough room to go lower? What really they need to do is either reduce their costs further to be able to reduce prices more, or make their products even better so people are willing to pay the prices, especially if there is a slowdown in the economy for China or globally, depending on what happens. But it's 3% margins versus Tesla in this case is about 11%. And so I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this. Could there be some pressure from the Tesla price cuts in China that could be causing some of the drop in profitability for BYD? We obviously see this with Tesla, and the stock has been punished because of it, quite obviously. But do you think that this has something to do with BYD's performance in the first quarter versus the fourth quarter? And do we need more data for the next few quarters to see what actually happens? So I would love to hear what you think in the comment section below. If you want to see more videos from me that are related to the auto market, Tesla, BYD, Ford, GM, I keep a very close eye on these things. I have to. I'm a freaking Tesla investor. I got to really keep my eyes on the competition, really understand it. Just like my dog, do subscribe and definitely hit the like button as well so more people can see this video. And if you want to support this channel, I also have merch in the description below. I have some shirts, hoodies, and a bunch of other stuff as well. And then I also have a coupon for Athletic Greens, which is a supplement that I use every single morning. You get free vitamin D and travel packs with that link. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was informative and helpful, and we'll see you on the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.